I ruined 2 marriages in a single day. And honestly, I don't regret a thing. This story is 100% real. Or at the very least, someone out there swears it happened. Either way, buckle up because this is the kind of revenge that takes months to plan. And one perfect moment to detonate. So, let's rewind. Way back in the early 2000s, I started to get this weird feeling. My wife was acting off. Now, we had 2 kids at the time, 4 and 6 years old, and they weren't babies anymore. Old enough to say stuff, tell stories, repeat things they'd seen. And one day, they started talking a lot about going to visit their grandparents, my wife's parents, which wouldn't be that strange, except they lived about an hour and a half away. And according to the kids, they were going there 2, maybe 3 times a week. Now here's the thing, my wife only worked part-time, so these trips, they were happening basically every day she wasn't working. That's when the alarm bells started going off. I asked her about it, casually at first. But she was never a good liar. She fumbled through some excuse that didn't make sense, avoided eye contact, and that was that. So, I started tracking her car's mileage. And wouldn't you know it? She was putting on an extra 400 miles a week. 400. I knew something was going on. Then one day I sat down at the family computer, this was back in the AOL era, and saw a sticky note right there on the desk. It had her AOL password written on it, in pen. Just sitting there. I couldn't resist. I logged in, checked her emails, and there it was. She had an email thread going with her college best friend. You know, the one who always thought she was still wild at heart, or whatever. They were talking about how my wife was, well, regularly sleeping with one of her ex-boyfriends from high school. Yep. She was driving the kids 90 minutes away to her parents, and then heading to a motel to hook up with some dude she used to make out with behind the bleachers. And it got worse. She was trash-talking his wife in the emails, too. Said the guy's wife let herself go after having kids. Made fun of her for gaining weight. It was nasty, mean, just gross all around. So I printed the emails, every single one. I hid them in a folder. Didn't say a word, but I needed more. So I called up a buddy of mine who was a cop. Told him I needed a PI. Someone good. He hooked me up with this guy named Ron. And man, Ron was a pro. I gave him the emails, the mileage logs, everything I had. He started digging. Fast. A few weeks later, I had a full report. Photos, times, hotel receipts. Every single move she made on her little trips to mom's. She'd drop the kids off. Go meet up with this guy for lunch. Then head to some sketchy motel for a few hours. Pick the kids up. Come home. Like nothing ever happened. At that point, I'd seen enough. I hired a divorce lawyer. Because listen, I grew up with parents who cheated. The damage it did to me and my siblings, massive. There was no way I was going to let my kids grow up in that kind of mess. But I wasn't done yet. I asked Ron, the PI, if he could find out more about the guy she was sleeping with. He came back with gold. His name was Bob. He was married. Had 3 kids of his own. Worked as a vice president of sales at a company owned by his father-in-law. Let me say that again. His wife's dad was his boss, and his landlord, because they lived in a house her parents owned. Hoo boy, South. I had my lawyer draw up the divorce papers. Then I asked Ron for 2 more copies of his full report. And one last favor. The day my wife got served the divorce papers at work, Ron drove across town and met up with Bob's wife. He gave her everything. Photos, times, emails, the whole report. I didn't know her, never met her, but she seemed like a good person who deserved to know the truth. What she did with that information absolutely wrecked Bob's entire life. According to public court records, she emptied their joint account, took the kids, and left. Her dad, Bob's boss, fired him the moment he found out, then evicted him from the house. Bob didn't just lose his wife. He lost his job, his home, his entire existence. And apparently, their divorce was ugly. There was screaming in court, screaming out of court. Police were called multiple times. One report said Bob showed up at the house and tried to argue with her. Her brother got involved. Bob got his nose broken. There were restraining orders, criminal charges, jail time. Dude went nuclear. I can't even find him online anymore. Last anyone heard, he left the state. As for his ex-wife, she went to work at her dad's company, took over when he retired. She's doing fine. As for me, my ex and I kept things civil, only talked about the kids. Now that they're grown, I don't talk to her at all. I don't hate her, I just don't care anymore. She's their mom. That's all she is to me. But sometimes, just sometimes, I think about how she cheated with a high school ex, and how he lost everything because of it. All I did was shine a little light on what was already happening, and I have to say, that light was bright enough to burn the whole thing down. So yeah, if you're going to cheat, maybe don't write your password on a sticky note. And definitely don't mess with someone who has a PI named Ron. Hit the like button if you enjoy seeing cheaters catch karma. And subscribe for more stories that'll make you say, oh, damn. See you next time.